So what's up, people? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to the channel, then please be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. With it being late February and with the Zwift Games coming up in the next couple weeks, I decided to do a video, actually a series of videos, kind of chronicling my training leading up to it, especially my anaerobic or my strength conditioning training. So I already periodically post my endurance training videos with me either using my Whoosh or Zwift, but moving forward, at least for the next several weeks, I'm actually going to post videos of me doing a lot of my strength training and my anaerobic conditioning in order to prepare for the Zwift Games. The reason why I'm doing this is because I tend to get a lot of comments or in regards to my power output, and I also tend to get some requests and people saying, hey, can you show us what we're doing or what you're doing in order to generate the level of power that you're generating during your races? And so I figured this is actually a perfect opportunity to do that, especially with the Zwift Games coming up. So in regards to the Zwift Games, I'm actually looking over it. Zwift Insider just released the whole list of the stages and the routes. And for the most part, I actually feel pretty good. For 4 to 5 routes. That 5th route, the epic route, is the one that kind of makes your butt cheeks clean. And reading the description on Zwift Insider, they keep mentioning incline after incline after incline, and with the route being a lot shorter than last year, I think it's only about 28 miles, with the route being only about 28 miles, and with about 900 meters of incline, that's going to be tough. So the epic route is actually called the Z25 Queen. When you just look at the route itself, it looks really brutal on Zwift Insider. And so I figure for me, the best bet would be to kind of get out in front of it and begin my training. I feel pretty good about my power and my strength endurance and my power endurance overall. But the one thing with so many inclines, I want to make sure that I'm definitely prepared from a recovery standpoint, from an anaerobic recovery standpoint. After putting out so much effort, I want to make sure that my body's prepared for the next phase of the race. But again, I feel pretty good about the first 4. The first 4 seem to be in my wheelhouse. I think I'm going to struggle probably a little bit, but I feel pretty confident about those stages that I can do pretty well. It's just that one epic is the one that kind of got me like, I ain't sure. So best practice is when you're in that situation is to kind of get ahead of it and prepare early. Now Zwift, they just released a challenge that allows you to do the races or do the routes in advance if you wanted to. Me, I personally don't like to do that. I like the thrill and the anticipation of seeing the route the first time on competition day and being able and having to adjust in game. That's just a competitor in me. And so I don't really want to ride the routes early. I just prefer to ride them on the day I actually do the race. So that's kind of why I'm not that's kind of my approach. It's always been my approach, even though I've been on Zwift. I haven't been on Zwift for a very long time, but that's kind of been my approach. So who am I? First of all, I want to let everybody know, here's my disclaimer up front. I am not a cyclist by any means. What I am is I'm a person who just incorporates some form of cycling into my training or to my conditioning or my fitness routine, but I'm by no means a cyclist. To be honest with you, what I am is, just like probably most people watching this video, I'm just a person. I'm somebody's daddy. I'm somebody's husband. I'm somebody's employee. I'm just a dude who's trying to stay off the radar of the lifestyle related illnesses. I'm a dude who's trying to, as I get older, trying to continue to maintain my health and wellness and trying to make sure that, and guys can relate to this, I'm trying to make sure that even as I get older, everything stay working in the bedroom. So that's pretty much my goal. I really don't have any other ambitions outside of this, but I'm not looking for a sponsorship or anything.
Trying to get a motherfucking scholarship.
And so my approach is to eCycling or Zwifting is just from a general fitness standpoint. It's not specifically from a cyclist standpoint. Over the years, I've done like high rocks, DecaFit, Spartan races, obstacle course races. So I've done a lot of fitness races in general. With Zwifting, with any type of fit, even with the fitness challenges, what they allow me to do more so than anything is they allow me to kind of set a target to focus my training on. That helps me stay motivated. That helps me stay structured, disciplined, and it helps me to structure my workouts in a way that is going to benefit me for that particular time or that particular target I'm hitting. And the Zwift Games was mine for this year, where leading up to this, I was really focused on developing, improving my anaerobic output, improving my power output, and now the final stage is to improve my VO2 max, which should help me in the epic. And to be honest with you, when doing a section or doing a station in a high rocks or DecaFit, I still get that same physiological response that I would get in climbing an incline on Zwift and having to recover. To be honest with you, is very similar, which tells me that the training I can do in order to be successful in eCycling is very similar to the training that I can do in order to be successful in like Deca or high rock. Since I started doing eCycling, I really started to dig deep in kind of the physiological demands of the sport. And to be honest with you, it is very similar to obstacle course racing. The focus of eCycling, FTP, is basically your lactic threshold. And that is the same thing. Your lactic threshold is the same thing where in a fitness race, it will basically slow you up. That burning that you get in your legs, that exact same feeling is a feeling that you would get in a sled push or sled pull during a high rocks or DecaFit race. And so the training is very similar, and the methodology that I'm approaching in regarding to Zwift is actually the same from a training standpoint, and I'm actually seeing the benefits. I seem to do pretty well in Zwift, and I think that largely has to do with there's a lot of carryover from my other fitness events into Zwift, and I'm able to see it. So I've coached track and field for several years, and I believe I'm a very big believer in science and incorporating science into the training. And so a lot of the workouts that I do with my athletes, they're very much science-based. And I've kind of taken that, and a lot of the training or a lot of the approaches that I take in regards to eCycling, a lot of it is just science-based. A lot of it is focused on the energy system, distribution, and the muscle development, not necessarily for size, but for performance. So a lot of it is I focus on the alactic. A lot of my training in regards to Zwift, I focus on the alactic energy system. I focus on the ATP energy system. I focus on the oxidative energy system. I focus on the anaerobic energy system, and I focus on the aerobic energy system, all the different variances. Now, to me as a cyclist or as a person who's gotten into cycling, it's kind of like track and field. And one of the things I've learned with track and field is based on your body type or your physiological demands, that often dictates more what event you will go into. Whether you're a sprinter or whether you're a distance runner, mid-distance runner, short distance, long sprinter, short distance, the physiological demands that your body, that's specific to your body, almost dictates what events you're in. The physiological demand that you put the distance of the events that you do or that you tend to be more successful at, whether it's short cycling, mid cycling, long cycling, or the heavy or ultra distance cycling, kind of just depends on the physiological disposition of your individual body. For me, I tend to do well at the short distance. I haven't really tried a short race, but like 26 miles I tend to be stretching it at 26 miles. When I did the final stage at a Tour de Zwift, I think that was like 26 miles, and I could tell my energy system was really starting to be depleted. So that isn't naturally in my wheelhouse. It doesn't mean I can't do it. It just means I have to train specifically for it. It's the same thing with this epic coming up. I know, just knowing my body, that hill climbs I tend to have to exert a lot more energy than I traditionally have to, because I rely heavily off just my raw power output, that I definitely need to start training up in regards to the level of the amount of climbing we're going to have to do, especially in regards to that final stage of the Zwift Games. So I think in general, and feel free to disagree, but the person with the higher power output is the person that can ultimately be successful. So I look at it like this: because your FTP closely matches your lactic threshold, the idea of improving your lactic threshold is to be able to generate the same amount of effort, to be able to generate the same amount of work with less effort. So what do I mean by that? So if you think about it like this, and I'll use track and field as an example. You can have two runners, and both of them run the first 200. Both of them run 200 at 30 seconds. The difference is, one runner, when they're running that 200 in 30 seconds, they're actually at 90% effort. The other runner is at 70%. The runner that's at 70%, even though they're running the same time, that person is in a better position because they're just not going to be as tired at the end, because they're not exerting that much more. They're not exerting as much energy as the person running at 90%. Cycling is the same way, or Zwift cycling is the same way, especially e-cycling. And the reason why is because the more you can improve your power, the less effort you have to do in order just to sustain a moderate amount of wattage. So for example, if I can generate enough power, if I can generate 1500 watts of power, and it takes me, let's say, 90% effort to generate 1500 watts of power, that means at maintaining 500 watts, I'm using a lot less effort, so I should be able to sustain that amount of wattage for longer. That's the way lactic acid works. And the less effort you do use, the less your heart is pumping, the more your heart can flush out flush that lactic acid out your system, so your legs aren't burning as much. So there's a lot to go into it just from a physiological demand. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds, but the way I view it, and from my little experience with e-racing, the person with the higher amount that can generate the higher amount of power will better position themselves, because they just have to exert less effort to maintain or to keep themselves up with the group. And so that's kind of my approach to training, improving my overall power output. It doesn't necessarily mean getting stronger. It means improving my speed and my raw strength and my base strength. So in e-cycling, your speed is essentially your cadence. You can find the right combination of speed and strength, or cadence and strength, or how much force you're applying into the pedal. Your power output, you'll be able to sustain a good amount of wattage being the power, over an extended period of time, and that should put you in the best position to be successful in a race. So for this workout coming up, they're called TABATA workouts. I have a love-hate relationship with TABATA workouts. TABATA workouts are very effective for improving your anaerobic and your aerobic energy system. The problem with TABATA workouts is they suck.
House is a fucking prison on planet bullshit. In the galaxy of this sucks camel dicks.
They're designed to suck. They're very hard, they're very intense, and they're very demanding on the body. And they just suck. They really suck.
And yeah, it sucks.
So the TABATA workouts were actually created by a sports doctor called Izumi. I'm probably butchering his name, TABATA. And the idea behind them is you have 8 exercises, and for every exercise you do 8 rounds. Each round is 20 seconds with a 10-second break in between. And then you move on to the next exercise. I usually only do 5 or 6, just because it's pretty demanding, and I usually build a 1-minute break in between, moving from one exercise to another, just because it is truly hell. But the idea is to work in 20-second bursts, which is very high effort. And when you do that over time, when you do Tabata workouts over time, it's designed to improve your aerobic, your anaerobic, and aerobic capacity. So the workout you're about to see is a Tabata. I'm using the air bike, the row machine. I'm using an air bike, the row machine, kettlebell, and med ball. With I'm using kettlebell swings. I'm doing kettlebell swings and med ball slams. I love using the air bike because using an air bike is a very quick way to get the same physiological response that I get climbing a steep incline. But instead of me having to do it for 2 minutes, my lungs typically be about to bust using the air bike in about 30 seconds. So I dramatically reduce the amount of time for that physiological response. It's the same thing with a row machine because I have to keep constant resistance on my legs in the pull through of using a row machine. It gives me the same physiological response or the same feeling as if I was trying to pedal at, let's say, 400 watts over an extended period of time in a race. So I really like those two machines or those two exercises, especially in regards to developing my prowess on Zwift. Now the kettlebell swings is just a great full body workout. It strengthens the back, shoulders, legs, and core. It's great for full body, and the med ball slams are also great for full body. They really work on the your anaerobic energy system, and it also works on your full body, just because as you lift it and you slam it back down, you're really taxing pretty much every part of your body. I do finish up with some just pure strength finishers, or some pure strength exercises. I like to use bands because bands to me seem to be pretty effective. Most sports athletes, especially at a high level, you see them working with a lot of bands. And one of the reasons why, there's a couple of reasons why, but one of the reasons why is it's less taxing on the joints than just regular weight, because the resistance comes through the motion as opposed to at the initial onset of the lift or whatever you're trying to do, which a lot of times can be pretty taxing on the ligaments. But also the biggest benefit is from a functional standpoint. Bands get more resistance through the motion, and for most exercises that you're doing, or most sports that you're doing, you're trying to get more explosive through the movement and not just at the initial onset. So if you think about your pedal stroke, as you're pedaling down, you want that power output to increase as you drive through the pedal stroke. Bands are great tools to help improve that trait or that quality in your training. So these are the exercises that I'm doing for this workout. Let me know what you think.